I started my trip across Asia with only a backpack and a restless mind. In Hanoi, the air smelled like strong coffee mixed with motorbike fumes, chaotic but alive. In Penang, I walked through streets covered in murals telling stories older than me. Kuala Lumpur's skyline glittered like steel and glass dreams. In Siem Reap, I watched the Sunrise pour gold over Angkor Wat. Bangkok buzzed with neon lights and street food smoke, while Yangon's ancient pagodas seemed to whisper prayers. Every place had something special. But nothing prepared me for what I felt in the Philippines. I expected another crowded capital, but Manila surprised me. The jeepneys roared past in bright colors, horns blaring. Yet there was a softness in the air I couldn't explain until I met Lisa, a sari store owner in Tondo. She wouldn't let me leave without trying her homemade champorado. She didn't ask where I was from or for money. She just said, "You look tired." Eat. That night, in a place people warned me about, I felt safer than in many well-lit streets I had been to. The next morning, I took a ferry to Muro, expecting beaches. Instead, I found a fishing village where life followed the tides. Kids swam in the shallows, turning old bottles into toys. Elderly men fixed nets with steady hands. Nobody seemed in a hurry, and nobody seemed left out. They didn't have much, but laughter filled the air. Joy here wasn't a break from hardship, it was a way of living despite it. In Bohol, I came for the chocolate hills and tarsiers, but what I remember most is Ernesto, an old man who ferried me across the Lobok River. When we docked, he invited me to his nipa hut for lunch. He had caught just one fish that morning, but split it in half so we could share. I thought about all the all-you-can-eat buffets I'd seen, but somehow this simple meal felt richer than any feast. In summer, I joined a hike to a hidden waterfall. Rain turned the trail to mud, and my sandals broke. I thought I'd have to turn back, but our young guide, Carlo, gave me his slippers and walked barefoot the rest of the way. When I tried to return them, he just said, "You needed them more." That was generosity without ceremony, pure and natural. I went south to Zamboanga, often known only from the news. On the pink sands of Santa Cruz Island, I met a mother and her teenage daughter selling shell bracelets. When I bought one, the mother slipped two more into my bag and said, "For your sisters." I told her I had none. She smiled, "Then for the sisters you will meet." Here, kindness didn't wait for familiarity, it made its own family. In Bukidnon, I stayed with a farming family during harvest. They worked from sunrise to starlight, hands deep in the soil. Yet every night after dinner, they sang old vision songs into the cool air. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the feeling. It wasn't about having free time to celebrate. It was about finding reasons to celebrate even when life was hard. I reached Sagra on a misty morning. While visiting the hanging coffins, I slipped on a wet path. Local teens who barely spoke English helped me up and walked me back to town. They didn't just leave me there, they waited until I found my lodging. When I tried to tip them, they refused. "You're our visitor," one said. That kind of care doesn't appear in tourist brochures, it lives quietly in people's hearts. In Roxas City, the seafood capital, I sat by the pier at a small eatery. Joel, the cook, served me crabs so fresh they still smelled of the ocean. When I asked for the bill, he waved me off. "Your smile is enough payment," Joel told me. I laughed, but later that night, alone in my room, I realized how rare it is to be valued for who you are, not for your money. I saw the same kindness in many other places far from the tourist spots. Rice farmers in Nueva Ecija who handed me the first mangoes of the season, not because I asked, but because they wanted me to taste something sweet. A tricycle driver in Legazpi who took a longer route just to show me his favorite view of Mayon volcano and refused extra fare. They didn't know me, yet they wanted me to carry a piece of their home in my heart. The more I traveled, the more I saw that the Philippines wasn't just a place, it was a mirror. It reminded me that connection matters more than convenience, and sincerity outshines spectacle. I'd been to cities where the streets glittered with wealth, but nowhere else had strangers sung to me in the rain or handed me fruit simply to make me smile. Here, wealth wasn't stored in banks, it was shared in moments. On my last night, I sat on the shore of Guimaras as the sun sunk into the horizon. Fishermen pulled in their nets. Children ran along the beach, laughing. An old woman selling mangoes hummed to herself. I realized I had come here chasing places, but I was leaving with people, their voices, their smiles, their unguarded generosity. The Philippines didn't just welcome me, it taught me how to welcome the world. I began this journey looking for adventure, but I found something deeper. I learned that home isn't always where you are born. It's where you are fed without asking. Where your safety is someone's quiet concern. Where strangers refuse payment because they see you as family. The world calls the Philippines developing, but maybe it's the rest of us who have catching up to do. I arrived as a traveler. I left as someone claimed by kindness.